A few months ago, I decided I needed a break from the city. It felt like the right time to go camping alone. I knew the woods, but this time felt different. I drove to a remote spot deep in the national park, surrounded by tall pines and the soft sound of a creek. It seemed peaceful, like a perfect escape. I set up my tent and lit a small fire. As the sun sank below the trees, I curled up with my notebook, searching for inspiration. The first night, I woke up to soft rustling outside my tent. I thought it was a raccoon or maybe a squirrel. I shrugged it off, rolled over, and tried to sleep. Then I heard the rustling again. It was more than just the wind. There were little clicks. I wanted to check, but I was too tired to care. I just drifted back off. The next morning, I stepped outside. My campfire supplies were scattered everywhere. My water bottle was in the dirt, not where I left it. It bothered me, and I picked up the mess. Maybe the wind had knocked it around. I couldn't be sure. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was nothing. I packed a snack and went for a hike, hoping to clear my head. But even as I walked, I felt uneasy. The woods were too quiet, and I could feel the tension in the air. That night, I sat by the fire, staring into the flames. I heard laughter, distant but close enough to send a chill up my spine. It was like children whispering, playing some kind of game. I froze. I was alone. I stood up and peered into the dark, my heart racing. I wrapped my arms around myself and listened harder. Maybe I was just tired overthinking everything. Eventually, I went to bed. I pulled the sleeping bag around me tightly. The whispers crept back, circling my tent like they were alive. It felt strange, as if I were in a different place entirely. I don't remember falling asleep, but I woke again. The clock said 3 in the morning. It was eerily quiet, but I felt watched. I knew something was out there. I laid still, holding my breath, wishing the feeling would go away. I didn't want to peek outside. I was terrified. The night dragged on with that presence hanging in the air, waiting. Finally, dawn broke. I bolted up, packing my things in a hurry. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I drove home with silence ringing in my ears, the whispers still echoing in my mind. Weeks have passed since then, but I can't shake that feeling of being watched. It lingers. I wonder what really happened in those woods. I replay the sounds and the rustling over and over. Everyone tells me it was just my imagination, but I don't know. Sometimes I hear those whispers in my thoughts, reminding me that I wasn't truly alone. What really was out there? I may never find out. But I know I'll never camp alone again. I tried to move on. I buried myself in work and kept myself busy. But the memories of that camping trip gnawed at me. I found myself staring out the window, lost in thought while rain drummed softly on the glass. I wanted to forget, but it was impossible. One afternoon, I was sorting through boxes in my attic and stumbled upon an old photo album. It was filled with pictures from previous camping trips, happy moments with friends and family. I flipped through the pages, nostalgia washing over me. That's when I found a photo I had completely forgotten. It was taken the first night in the woods, just after I set up my tent. My breath caught in my throat. In the background, partially obscured by the shadows of the trees, something shifted. The image was grainy, and I strained to see. It looked like a figure, humanoid but distorted, its features blurred. I squinted and felt a chill run down my spine. I hadn't noticed it then, but now it was clear. My heart raced as I tried to convince myself it was just a trick of the light. I slammed the album shut and pushed it aside. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. I decided to reach out to a friend about my camping experience. I called Sarah, someone who shared my love for the outdoors. As I recounted the whispers in the dark and the eerie laughter, she was silent. Maybe, she said finally, you should have someone come with you next time. I didn't know if there would be a next time. The memories haunted me. So, I turned back to my routine, but the restlessness inside me grew. I began to look for answers, even if I wasn't sure I wanted them. A few days later, I found an online forum dedicated to local ghost stories. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. I started to read other people's experiences in those same woods. Many of them spoke of feeling watched, hearing laughter when there was no one around. It sent shivers down my spine. I wasn't alone in my feelings after all. Then I came across a post that caught my eye. It detailed an incident from years ago, something about lost children who wandered into the woods and were never found. The post was filled with speculation. Some believed it to be an urban legend, others swore it was true. Every word pulled me deeper into the mystery. I had to know more. I clicked through replies and got lost in stories. Then one message stood out. It claimed that if you returned to the woods at the same spot where the children vanished, you could hear their laughter echoing through the trees. My heart raced at the thought. What if I went back? That thought lingered in my mind, scratching at an old wound. What if I faced my fears? What if I found out the truth? As the days went by, that itch for clarity turned into an urge, a yearning I couldn't ignore. Finally, I made up my mind. I had to return to the woods. But when? And how would I prepare for what might be waiting for me? I questioned my sanity, but I was tired of running. Somewhere deep inside, I needed closure. That night, as I jotted down my plans, I heard a sound outside my window. It was soft at first, like whispers, barely audible over the rustling trees. My heart sank. I turned to look, but the darkness revealed nothing. Just silence. I wrapped my arms around myself, wishing I could drown out the echoes of laughter that stalked me from the shadows. Then, out of nowhere, I heard it again. This time, clearer. Someone was out there. I jumped to my feet, heart pounding. The whispers turned into distinct giggles, too close for comfort. I hurriedly scanned the yard, eyes darting, feeling exposed under the glow of my porch light. What if it was just the wind? But the laughter sounded too alive, too mischievous. I took a cautious step toward the door, and as I opened it slightly, the air outside felt heavy, charged with an unshakable tension. I called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" Nothing. Just the rustle of leaves and the soft patter of rain starting again. I was embarrassed by my own fear, but that didn't stop me from straining to hear more. In my gut, though, a voice whispered that I should retreat back inside. Instead, curiosity and panic made the decision for me, a compulsion stronger than common sense. I grabbed a flashlight from the drawer and slipped on my jacket. The world beyond my front door waited, cloaked in darkness. I stepped outside, the light beam shaking slightly in my hand. My heart raced as I moved down the steps. I walked toward the edge of my yard, where it met the thick line of woods. I knew every inch of that place from my childhood, but that knowledge felt hollow and distant now. I called out again, "If someone is there, please respond." My voice barely crossed the threshold of the trees. But then I heard it again, laughter, clearer now. It was coming from deeper in the woods. My heart dropped. Maybe it was just kids playing, I thought, but it felt wrong. The laughter echoed with a hint of mockery, something otherworldly. I remembered the stories from the forum about the lost children. A chill swept through me. Should I turn back? Taking a step forward, I cursed myself for the growing thrill within me. I gripped the flashlight tighter, inching toward the sound, each step pulling me deeper into an unseen world. The laughter faded, replaced by an eerie silence that wrapped around me like a shroud. Then, cutting through the quiet, I heard another sound, a soft tapping, rhythmic, in the distance. My stomach twisted. It wasn't far, and it was definitely not playful. I hesitated. Every instinct told me to run. But before I could move, I saw something shift in the shadows ahead. My breath caught in my throat. The beam of my flashlight hit something, a figure standing partially obscured by the trees. It was too far to make out details, but it was definitely there. I froze. "Who is there?" I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. The figure tilted its head, and suddenly, the laughter erupted again, this time mixed with sobs. I felt a wave of dizziness wash over me. In that moment, all rational thought left me. I turned to run, panic propelling my legs faster than ever. I barely glanced back, but I could feel the weight of something watching me, the shadows stretching and closing in. Just as I reached my front porch, I turned around. The laughter stopped abruptly. The woods felt heavy and watchful behind me. Wildly, I swung my flashlight back toward the trees. Nothing. Just darkness. My skin prickled with a sense of foreboding. I slammed the door shut and locked it, every bolt feeling inadequate against the unease that flooded me. If I thought that experience was unsettling, it was just the beginning. That night, after I tried to shake off the encounter, I found something lying on my porch, a toy. A small, ragged teddy bear, drenched from the rain. It was familiar, and I felt a knot tighten in my chest. I had seen it before. Suddenly, I became aware of the laughter again. Only now, it was my own echo, creeping through the mundane silence of my home. The next morning, I woke up with the sun casting stripes of light through my window. The teddy bear sat by the door, a silent reminder of the night before. I avoided looking at it as I got ready for the day. I needed to clear my head. After a quick breakfast, I decided to visit my neighbor, Mrs. Stone. She had lived here longer than anyone else and often shared tales about the woods. Maybe she could tell me if there were any strange happenings lately. I walked over, the unease still curling in my stomach. As I approached her house, I noticed something strange. The garden, once vibrant and filled with flowers, was overrun with weeds, as if it hadn't been tended to in ages. I knocked on the door, and after a brief wait, Mrs. Stone opened it, looking more frail than I remembered. "Good morning, dear," she said, her voice soft but steady. "What brings you here?" "Hi, Mrs. Stone. I wanted to ask you about the woods. Something weird happened last night." I hesitated, unsure how to explain. I heard laughter, and before I could finish, her expression changed. Her brow furrowed, and she shook her head. "You shouldn't go into those woods at night. Not anymore." "Why? What do you mean?" I pressed, confusion washing over me. She looked over her shoulder, and I followed her gaze toward the dark tree line. "There are stories, dear. Children went missing, and, some say they come back, but they're not the same." A chill raced down my spine. I remembered the laughter, the mix of delight and sorrow. "You mean the lost children?" "Yes. They play tricks on those who wander too close. It's safer to stay away," she warned, her voice almost a whisper. I felt a rush of anxiety. I needed to get the details. "Have you seen anything strange recently?" She paused, her face growing troubled. I keep to myself. "But last week, a family reported their daughter missing for a few hours. They found her near the woods, but she couldn't remember how she got there." "What did she say?" I asked, holding my breath. Mrs. Stone shivered and glanced around again. "Just that she heard voices calling her." I backed away slowly, my heart racing. It was all too familiar. I thanked her and hurried back home, my mind racing. What voices? Once inside, I tossed the teddy bear into the corner of the room, trying to shake the fear crawling up my spine. I grabbed my phone and searched for anything related to the lost children, looking for answers. The clock ticked loudly, each second amplifying my anxiety. Then, amidst the articles and old news reports, I saw a picture that stopped my breath. A girl, no older than 10, standing under the trees. Her face was pale, eyes wide in what seemed like fear. In her arms, she cradled a teddy bear almost identical to the one I'd found. That s when the doorbell rang, echoing through the silence. A chill gripped me. No one came to visit unexpectedly. I approached the door, heart pounding furiously, and looked through the peephole. Nothing. Just an empty porch. And suddenly, I remembered, I had locked the door. I took a step back, breath hitching. Just then, laughter rose again, sharp and clear just outside my window, a playful sound that sent ice through my veins. I was not alone. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to steady my breathing. The laughter faded, but the hairs on my neck stood on end. I needed to know who or what was outside. Summoning my courage, I inched toward the window, glancing one last time at the corner where I had tossed the teddy bear. It lay on the floor, innocent yet sinister. Peering outside, I saw nothing. The yard was still, shadows cloaking every corner. Maybe it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. I shook my head, trying to dismiss the unsettling thoughts. I was letting fear get the best of me. But before I could turn away, movement caught my eye. A figure darted between the trees just beyond the yard, small and quick. I squinted, heart racing again. Was it a child? My thoughts spiraled back to Mrs. Stone's warning. Children went missing, only to return changed. That thought gnawed at me. I had to find out what was happening. Grabbing my jacket, I made sure my phone was in my pocket and quietly opened my front door. The sun hung low in the sky, creating long shadows, but I felt drawn toward the woods. As I approached the tree line, the laughter returned, echoing from deep inside the forest, a call I could not resist. Hello. I called out, my voice trembling slightly. Only silence answered back. I stepped forward, breaking twigs underfoot. The air shifted, the calmness before a storm. I hesitated, every instinct screaming at me to turn back. But curiosity propelled me, and I moved closer. The darkness of the trees swallowed the light, and I squinted, straining to catch another glimpse of the figure. I could hear faint whispers now, like words caught on the wind. They wrapped around me, tantalizing yet frightening. Come play, they seemed to say. Then, from the corner of my eye, I noticed a blur darting among the trees. I paused, trapped between fear and fascination. I took another step, drawn deeper into the woods. That's when I remembered the girl from the photo, the one with the teddy bear. Suddenly, a branch snapped behind me. My heart lurched. I spun around, but found nothing. The feeling of being watched crept over me again. I needed to get back. I turned on my heel, but the path I had taken was shrouded in darkness. Familiar sights had vanished, and I felt completely disoriented. Okay, just breathe. I whispered to myself, trying to stay calm as I retraced my steps, but they all started to look the same. Just then, a sharp laugh echoed again, this time right beside me. I froze. It was a child's laughter. Panic surged. I pivoted, scanning the trees, but the source was hidden. My legs screamed for me to run, but fear paralyzed me. Then, without warning, a small figure emerged from behind the tree. It was a girl, no older than 10. Her hair hung wildly around her face, and in her arms, she held a teddy bear that looked just like mine. Play with us, she said, a wide smile on her face that chilled me to the core. I stepped back, my mind racing. Everything around me felt wrong. Just then, the ground beneath me trembled, and everything went dark. I woke up disoriented, lying on damp leaves. The darkness felt thick and suffocating. I blinked, trying to remember how I got here. The laughter was gone, but the girl's smiling face lingered in my mind. I felt a heavy weight on my chest. Where was I? Panic opened up like a pit in my stomach. I pushed myself up, scattering leaves as I did. The faint light of the moon seeped through the branches above, revealing the twisted shapes of trees all around me. I couldn't see anything familiar. "Hello?" I called, my voice a whisper. My heart pounded, it sounded so lonely against the silence of the woods. As I stood, I spotted a faint glimmer not too far away, a small figure flickering between the trees. "No, no, I can't do this," I muttered, taking a step back. But something in me insisted I move forward. I took a deep breath and stepped toward the light. With each step, I could hear whispers again, curling around the trees like smoke. They beckoned me closer, and dread washed over me. Did I really want to play? Suddenly, the light vanished, swallowed by the trees. I froze, uncertainty flooding my thoughts. A rustling sound broke the silence. I turned quickly, half expecting the girl to reappear, but it was just the wind whispering through the leaves. Then, an unexpected chill ran down my spine when I felt a tug on my jacket. It was small but insistent. I twisted around but found nothing, only shadows shifting in the dim light. "Leave me alone," I yelled, anger replacing fear. I started walking away, expecting to find my way back. Every instinct warned me to escape. That's when I turned and saw her again, standing there with the teddy bear clutched tightly in her arms. But this time, her face was different, her wide smile morphed into a frown, a dark look that pierced through me. "Why don't you want to play?" she asked, voice echoing like a chant. I staggered back, fear clawing at my throat. This wasn't the same girl who had smiled at me before. The air thickened, and I felt trapped, as if the trees themselves were closing in. "No. I'm done," I shouted, and I turned to run blindly through the woods. Brambles tore at my legs, but I didn't stop. The laughter returned, echoing all around me, haunting and mocking. "Play with us," they yelled in unison. I ran until I could barely breathe, heart racing, mind screaming for escape. Just when I thought I'd be broken free, I stumbled onto a clearing. But as I stepped into the moonlight, I realized something was waiting for me there, something familiar. The teddy bear lay in the center of the clearing, its button eyes glinting in the darkness. I stared in horror. That's when the darkness surged back in, and everything faded again. When the darkness faded back into focus, I was no longer in the clearing. I sat on the ground, rigid with fear, the teddy bear now nowhere in sight. Instead, I was surrounded by a thick fog that smothered my senses, dampening sound and light. My breath came out in quick bursts, each exhale a reminder that I was very much alive. "Stand up," I told myself. "You need to see where you are." I pushed myself to my feet, the cool, damp ground squishing beneath me. I squinted through the fog, desperate to catch a glimpse of something, anything that would lead me from this nightmare. A low rumbling sound reverberated through the air. It felt akin to distant thunder, but there were no clouds. I couldn't tell whether it was the earth groaning or something else, but I felt a pull toward it, as if the noise itself was trying to guide me. "Stay calm," I whispered. "Just listen." Taking a tentative step forward, I moved through the mist, feeling it swirl against my skin. The whispers returned, floating through the air like lost secrets. They seemed to tug at my thoughts, trying to lure me in. Confusion gripped me, I wanted to scream, to run, but curiosity rooted my feet to the spot. Then I saw it, a faint silhouette in the distance, darker than the fog that surrounded it. As I stepped closer, the shape morphed into something recognizable. A small cabin stood there, worn and weather-beaten, with a crooked roof that sagged under the weight of time. Anxiety gripped my chest tighter. I had never seen this cabin before, yet it felt oddly nostalgic, like a fragment of a memory that had been tucked away. Maybe someone is inside, I thought, desperate for companionship. Maybe I wasn't completely alone after all. "Hello?" I called, my voice cracking in the thick air. No answer. I stepped up to the door, which hung slightly ajar, creaking ominously as I pushed it open. The interior was dark, but I could make out the rough outline of furniture covered in dust and cobwebs. A chill slithered down my spine as I peered inside. The floorboards groaned beneath my weight, and I took a cautious step in. My eyes swept over the room, trying to make sense of the disarray. Then something caught my eye. A small, tattered notebook sat on a table near the window, open to a page filled with frantic handwriting. I moved closer, drawn to it like a moth to a flame. The words were chaotic, scribbled in a way that suggested urgency. "They're always watching," one line read. "If you leave, they'll come for you. You have to stay." I recoiled, heart pounding. Stay. I mumbled to myself. Was this real? Suddenly, it all made sense. The whispers, the laughter, the girl with the teddy bear. This was about something much darker than play. Just then, the air in the cabin shifted, thickening with an unnameable dread. I felt it, the presence I had been avoiding. "You shouldn't have come here," it seemed to whisper, and I turned to see a shadow move in the corner of my eye. That's when I realized this wasn't just a forgotten place. It was a trap. The door slammed shut behind me, plunging everything into suffocating darkness. Panic rose as I felt the weight of countless eyes on me. I had no choice but to fight for my escape. I stumbled backward, my heart racing. My back hit the wall of the cabin, and I frantically looked around. The whispers grew louder, swirling like a storm. They seemed to echo off the walls, sending shivers down my spine. "Leave me alone!" I shouted. My voice felt small against the cacophony. Then, a flicker of light caught my eye. I turned towards the source, a small lantern on a shelf, dimly illuminating the room. I reached for it, driven by a faint hope. Maybe it would help me fight back against whatever darkness surrounded me. My fingers wrapped around the cold metal, and I turned it on. Its glow pushed back some of the shadows, but it did little to calm the fear clawing at my insides. I scanned the room again. There were more items scattered about: a rusted knife on the table, a cracked mirror leaning against the wall. Each piece felt like a reminder of something sinister. I picked up the knife, gripping it tightly. It was dull, but it was something. I felt a rush of bravery, despite the anxiety threatening to overwhelm me. Another rustle came from the corner of the room. I whirled around, knife raised. The shadow shifted, just beyond the reach of the lantern's light, and for a moment, I caught a glimpse of a figure. It was small, almost childlike, but there was something off about it, something unnatural. "Help me," it whispered, the voice eerie and hollow. My hands trembled, and the knife slipped slightly. "They won't let you leave." "Who?" I demanded, my voice stronger this time. "Who won't let me leave?" The figure gestured toward the window, its hand shaking. The air felt heavier, as if it carried the weight of unspoken secrets. My mind raced, connecting the dots. Are you the girl from the park?" I stammered. "Listen," it said, the urgency in its voice pushing me further into confusion. "You need to understand. The fog is a prison. You thought you could escape, but they won't let you." Suddenly, the ground beneath me shook, and the cabin creaked alarmingly. I glanced around, the dim light flickering wildly. I couldn't stay here. I had to make a break for it. I turned towards the door, adrenaline spiking through me. But before I could reach it, the shadows thickened, coiling around me. The whispers turned into howls, deafening and chaotic. "Stay! Stay! Stay!" They screamed. I could feel them tugging at my mind, wrapping around my thoughts like vines. "I'm not staying!" I yelled defiantly, gripping the knife tighter. I sprinted for the door, but it wouldn't budge. I slammed my shoulder against it, willing it to give way. The whispers intensified, drowning out everything else. Then, just as despair began to sink in, I spotted something glinting in the window's light. A rusty latch. I rushed over, yanking at it with all my strength. Finally, it slid free with a metallic clank. I pushed the door, and it swung open with a groan. The fog outside billowed toward me, alive and waiting. I hesitated, feeling the figure's presence behind me, urging me on. "You have to go," it cried. I stepped into the fog, heart pounding, the cabin a chaotic memory swirling behind me. I didn't know what lay ahead, but I was ready to face it. But then I heard a voice from the fog, low and haunting. "You can't escape." A chill ran down my spine. I wasn't free yet. I stumbled into the fog, disoriented and overwhelmed. The dense mist wrapped around me like a shroud, hiding everything from view. My pulse raced, each beat echoing in my ears. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I had to stay focused. The girl's words echoed in my mind. "They want to let you leave." Who were they? What did she mean? As I pressed forward, I heard a faint sound, like twigs snapping underfoot. I froze. My heart raced again, and I strained to listen, but the sound seemed to fade into the thick blanket of fog. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see that small figure trailing behind me, but the cabin stood silent and foreboding in the distance. The whispers from inside were gone, replaced by the quiet of the night. Deciding not to linger, I moved deeper into the fog. With each step, the landscape below shifted from uneven ground to a smooth path, as if the earth itself wanted to guide me somewhere. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Then something tugged at my jacket, a sharp pull that nearly made me stumble. I spun around but saw nothing. Just before I could breathe a sigh of relief, I spotted a shadow darting between the trees on my left. Panic surged through me. "Hello?" I called, my voice trembling. "Is anyone there?" No answer came, just the rustling of leaves. My instinct screamed at me to run, but I was frozen in place. Then, as if the fog had gathered to conspire against me, I heard the voices again. This time, they were clearer, whispering my name. "Help us, help us, help us." My heart sank. I knew this wasn't normal. Desperate, I took a step back, determined to retrace my steps. But then I heard a low growl, deep and menacing, rising from the mist. It sounded close, too close. I bolted, weaving through the trees, breath coming in sharp gasps. Every snapping branch felt like a warning, every rustle a reminder that something was right behind me. I didn't dare look back. After what felt like an eternity, I burst into a clearing. The fog thinned out just enough for me to see the moonlight filtering through the branches. Relief washed over me, but it was fleeting. The ground was littered with stones, and as I looked closer, I realized they were not just stones. They were gravestones, half buried and cracked, each one more weathered than the last. A chill ran down my spine as I stepped closer to one. The name was faded, but I could make out one word: lost. My blood ran cold. "Why are you here?" a voice hissed from behind me. I turned, the air heavy with dread. The girl from the park stood there again, the same terrified expression on her face. "You shouldn't have come." Before I could respond, the fog thickened again, and shadows began to swirl around us. Panic surged as I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. I grabbed the knife from my pocket as my only defense. That's when I saw it. Something large and dark loomed in the fog behind her, eyes gleaming like embers. It was watching me. "Run!" she screamed, but I was frozen in place, wide-eyed with terror. As the creature advanced, I realized there was no escape from this nightmare. But I had to try. I just had to. I sprinted into the night, the shadows chasing me as the girl's warning echoed in my mind. My heart thundered, crushing my ribs as I barreled past gravestones blurred by fog. I couldn't slow down, I didn't dare look back. The whispers transformed into shrill howls, filling the air with a cacophony that clawed at my sanity. Bare branches snagged my clothes as I ran, scratching my skin with sharp reminders of what I was fleeing. The moon wove a silver thread through the mist, sporadically illuminating my path, weaving between dense clusters of trees. I hoped to find some semblance of safety, an escape from whatever hunted me. Just as I thought I could find a way out, the ground beneath my feet sloped sharply. I stumbled, nearly losing my balance, and went tumbling down a small embankment. Pain shot through my ankle, but I forced myself to push through the agony. I hit the ground hard, rolling onto the damp earth and gasping for air, the fall knocking the wind out of me. Laying there for what felt like an eternity, I strained to hear anything over the silence. Was it really over? Had I lost them? But my moment of respite shattered as a low, rumbling growl broke through the oppressive quiet, echoing through the woods. It was coming closer. I scrambled to my feet, adrenaline surging anew through my veins. The way ahead was shrouded in darkness, but I could make out a narrow path partially hidden by fallen branches. Heart racing, I limped toward it, praying it led me far, far away from this nightmare. Staying low, I navigated the path with caution, forcing myself to ignore the piercing horror echoing in my mind. Each step felt heavier than the last as the chill in the air thickened. The growling faded for a moment, replaced by the whispers of the children again, laughter swirling around me, both inviting and sinister. "It's safe here," they coaxed. Just a little longer panic bubbled inside me. I staggered forward, desperate to break away from their disembodied voices. I couldn't be drawn back in. I remembered the girl's terrified face, the one filled with sorrow, and knew that whatever lay ahead could be worse than what I was fleeing. Suddenly, the path opened into a small clearing, the trees thinning just enough for moonlight to illuminate what was ahead. In the center, a weathered tree stood, its gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal arms. The moment I stepped closer, the air cooled around me, and I felt the weight of unseen eyes pressing in. A chorus of laughter erupted from behind me, and I spun around, panic surging through me. In that moment, shadows danced within the trees, twisting and turning, shaping into forms, children emerging from the dark, their faces fragmented by the gloom yet vaguely familiar. All holding small, tattered stuffed animals like the teddy bear I found. "Come and play," they sang, their voices hauntingly sweet, yet ice cold. Running felt futile now. I could sense the creature behind the tree, watching with hungry curiosity. The laughter was growing louder, an unyielding tide of sound. They wanted me to join them. Trembling, my resolve nearly cracked. "No!" I shouted, standing my ground. "I won't stay." In that moment of defiance, the laughter fell silent. The children froze, their faces shifting from joy to disappointment, their eyes reflecting something deeper, darker. It was as if I had awoken them from a dream, perhaps something far more sinister. "Why do you want us to stay?" I pleaded, desperately searching their eyes for the truth. "Help me understand." One girl, her eyes wide and pleading, stepped forward. "We just want a friend," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But once you cross over, you can't leave, none of us can." The ground trembled beneath my feet, and the growling grew louder, the ominous figure lurking in the shadows shifting closer. They were trapped like me, and I knew I couldn't let myself succumb to their fate. I had to get out. In a surge of adrenaline, I turned and dashed toward the tree, its twisted branches acting as a beacon of hope. The shadows moved, ready to snatch me back, but I didn't look back. I leaped over an exposed root, grabbing the tree's gnarled trunk for leverage, my body propelled forward. The moment my fingertips brushed the bark, a bright light exploded around me, a brilliant flash that sucked the shadows back like a tide retreating. Covering my eyes, I pushed through, feeling the warmth of the light wash over me. Suddenly, the ground shifted. I felt the rush of wind whip through me, and the laughter faded, replaced by shadows retreating until I broke free. And just like that, I was thrown back into reality, sprawled out on the leaves of the very clearing I thought I'd left behind. My breath quickened as I gasped, blinking away the remnants of shadows in my mind. Where was I? The world felt foggy, and I struggled to remember what had just happened. My body ached, but I pushed myself to stand, taking in the expanse of the woods around me. The sun was rising, casting streaks of orange across the tree line, illuminating the way home. As I turned to leave the clearing, my heart still racing, I caught a glimpse of a figure through the trees, a child standing in the distance, her teddy bear clutched to her chest, watching me with those wide, pleading eyes. But I didn't want to acknowledge her or what she represented. I fled from that clearing, vowing never to look back. I stumbled away, the laughter replaced by chirping birds as daylight illuminated the path. Somewhere deep inside, I knew I had escaped, but it left me with a heavy heart, a lingering sense of unease that would follow me long after leaving the woods behind. Although the memories slipped into my mind like mist, I still heard their whispers at night. They were never far away. I would carry their whispers in the quiet dark. Even in the safety of my home, I didn't dare sleep without a light nearby, forever haunted by the question, what truly lies in the shadows of those woods? And would I ever fully escape their call?